Howdy friends, welcome back to the channel. I got an email this weekend that's sort of sparking this idea for like a new series, the rantings and ravings of a herbalist. Now, if that's not your cup of tea and I got lots of tutorial DIY tip videos, I encourage you to check out my channel. However, before you hit stop, pause, or you decide to move on, some food for thought. Often in my rantings, I share different perspectives about health. When we can shift the way that we view our health, view our healing, and how we look at how the body functions and how we can support it, that's where the breakthroughs happen. Because let's be honest, if what you were doing was working, you wouldn't be looking for another alternative. So we need to start shifting perspectives and thinking about things in a different way. So this isn't about me getting up on my soapbox and ranting like a lunatic, although therapeutic and fun. It's more about providing an alternative perspective, because I believe one of the reasons why we have so much dis-ease, unhappiness, and a lack of health, because let's be honest, humans are probably the unhealthiest they have ever been in like the history of the planet. I'm talking chronic disease, okay? Yet we're supposed to be at the cutting edge of our technology and knowledge. So where is that disconnect, right? So if we can start thinking about the human body and framing healing differently, like I said, that's where the magic happens. So what's prompting this was an email that I got from one of my followers this weekend, and it really got me thinking about the responsibility that health practitioners and those who put ourselves in the category of expert in a certain area, the responsibility that we have to our clients, patients, and followers, and how very easily we can misuse the power that we have. So first, let's rewind a little bit. What is an expert? Now, in my viewpoint, in my lensing, or the way that I look at it, an expert isn't only someone that has a piece of paper from a school that tells you they're an expert. Okay, maybe that's a part of it, but having real world applicable experience. So for example, for someone like me, do I have an herbal education? Yes. Do I have years worth of working with clients and students? Yes. It's the combination of those two things that would allow me to confidently say that in the world of Western herbal medicine, I would consider myself an expert. An expert doesn't mean I know everything, by the way. It just means that I probably know more than the average Joe. And so, as experts in our field, we have a certain responsibility. And there's a few things that I'm noticing that happens with this word expert. So one of the things that I notice that happens is that when people go to see a practitioner, so-called expert in their field, there's this idea that they should just take our word for it. Oh, you don't need to research that medication. No. Oh, just, you don't need to research that form of therapy or that surgical intervention. Why not? Why not? Right? Part of the challenge that humans find ourselves in now is that we have over decades been, going to use the word programmed, don't mean to trigger anyone, but it's the best word that I can come up with right now, to hand our power over to external authorities, right? We couldn't possibly make banking decisions for ourselves. That's what financial experts are for. And we don't know how to raise our children. That's what schools are for. And we can't make choices for ourselves. That's what our government is for. I don't want to get too political here, but we've gotten really good at compartmentalizing our lives and handing our power over to experts. So why can't you question me if you come to see me in clinic? Why can't you ask questions if you don't agree with something that I share in my teaching platforms? I think you should be able to. I think that part of becoming invested in your own healing and health is looking up that medication, looking up those side effects, look up the condition that the doctor says you have, look up the herb that the herbalist says you should take. Now, it doesn't mean that necessarily that what you're looking up is the whole picture, but that's where you should be allowed to have dialogue with your healthcare practitioners. Go back to them and say, hey, I did a little digging and I have some questions. Now, I may have layers of experience, nuance, and education that helps to answer your questions for you. That's my goal. That's my job. If you're like, oh, I don't understand why you put me on this herb, my job is to explain my perspective and why I did that. So I'm adding in layers to your information. That's what an expert does. It doesn't mean that I say you should go on this and you're not allowed to ask why, right? So I really wanted to frame that first. So that's problem number one with, experts in any field of healing, because oftentimes people are discouraged from asking questions. And I'll see this on message boards where people are saying, asking questions about medical interventions or medications or whatever it may be. And I'll see the response on social media. Well, you're not a doctor. Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm an idiot. Like, sorry to be crass, but it does mean that I'm able to research things, look things up, and understand them. So that's part of the rant. There's a mosquito buzzing around my room in February. This is what happens when you have a wood stove, friends. They come in with the wood. So I'm like, if you're seeing me looking around, it's like, who wants to get a mosquito bite in February when there's still snow outside? Not this girl. Okay, circling back to the email. I got an email from one of my followers, and she was talking about I obviously am not going to disclose any specifics or information, but a diagnosis that they received, and that it was going to be for life, right? And herein lies the power of the expert and the authority figure. There is this magical thing that humans have, a brain, and our brain has the ability to solidify truth in our body in a way that we are only just starting to understand. Everybody knows if I say placebo effect, you get it, right? You know what I'm talking about. Well, this can work in many different ways. So when I have clients come to me and they've been told that their diagnosis is forever, that they will never be able to heal this, that their condition is terminal, there is a layer of responsibility that whoever that expert was that told them that has now solidified that as truth in their bodies. What if it's not forever? As a herbalist, the lensing that I have, the way that I view the human body is that certain things are not forever. I don't believe that just because your family has a history of Crohn's disease that you're doomed to suffer from it for the rest of your life. I don't believe that just because there is a history of depression or anxiety in your family, that means that you will forever suffer from anxiety and depression. This was something that was told to me, that because I had had 2 major depressive episodes in my life, that I would be doomed to suffer from it forever. That's what a physician told me. And I believed them for a long time. And that is where the power of the expert can be abused. Because if you take someone who has, let's say, a terminal diagnosis, but you give them hope, they believe in their treatment, they are far more likely to survive than the person who was given a terminal diagnosis and told that they were going to die, and they believed it. Now, it doesn't mean that they may not die, and it doesn't mean you may not have to deal with depression for a large part of your life, and it doesn't mean that you might not get Crohn's disease. But as experts, we have a responsibility to not push our truth and what we believe to be true onto the laps of our patients, clients, followers, students, friends. We have an absolute responsibility to hold ourselves in integrity and to not tell people absolutes in any way, shape, or form. As humans, yes, there are some absolutes. We need food, we need water, we need sleep. We are born and eventually we will die. But all the stuff in between, there's nuances and there's layers. Yet when you come across as an authority figure or as an expert in your field and you tell someone something, guess what usually happens? They believe you. And what if you're wrong? That's the question I'm going to leave on the laps of everybody who's watching this. What if you're wrong? What if it wasn't terminal? What if you don't have to get Crohn's just because your mom had it? What if you don't have to have your gallbladder removed because your, grandmother did? What if you aren't doomed to be, an alcoholic because it runs in your family? What if you're wrong? And what if the power of your words nudge someone in a direction that they didn't necessarily have to go? So, all of that being said, this is my rant. We need to understand and really start to ask ourselves some questions about what does expert mean and how you can conduct yourself as the patient, as the client, or if there are other practitioners watching this, what are our responsibilities? So it's late. I'm actually heading to bed soon. But as I was telling my husband about this video I filmed, I had a moment. So I would be remiss to not mention this brand new category of self-appointed experts called influencers. And there's nothing wrong with influencers. Please let me preface that. But let me just say that just because you have 150,000 followers on TikTok doesn't mean that the protein powder you're pushing is actually the best for everyone's body. So again, this is where it's our responsibility as the consumer of that information to do our due diligence, right? And to be okay with questioning those experts. Anyhow, I hope this gives you some food for thought. I hope that if you have been given some type of doomsday scenario that you are forever, going to have to deal with X, Y, and Z, that this maybe has given you some hope, or it's allowed you permission to do things like look up the side effects of your own medications or research the herbs that your herbalist has put you on. I hope it's given you that permission to breathe and expand a little bit. If you like this video, of course, I always appreciate a thumbs up. I super appreciate the comments. I always go in and respond to them. If you've liked my little mini rant and you want to hear more of the things that grind my gears in the natural health industry, let me know that below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spiraea Herbs, wishing you health and wellness.